Welcome to the Digital Executives Hub podcast. Today, I will be discussing digital transformation and digital twin technology with Adrian Merkel. We'll dive deep into his distinctive understanding of digital twin technology, his vast experience in sales, and also insights into how proof of concepts play a major role in the sales process. All that while shedding light on the importance of effective change management in today's digital landscape. Welcome to the Digital Executives Hub. I'm super excited for this interview. I've been waiting for this one for a couple months already. And that will be the one and only Adrian Merkel.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, what is super interesting to me is what your company does and also the way that you understand digital twin. And then this is one of the things that I'd like to talk to you about today, because in the recent times I have met 20 people with 20 different visions and definitions of digital twin. So I would really like to know what is your definition. But first, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you end up running a company that is using the digital twin technology?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. How did that happen? Yeah, that's a very, very good question. It's been a long time in the making, to be perfectly honest. We operate, or basically I'm owner, manager of our family business in the end. We're a family company. We started in the early 1980s as a spin-off of TU Darmstadt and Technical University of Darmstadt. And we were looking to 3D CAD systems there. It was basically mainly CAD for architecture, the first 3D things you see well out of the market at that times. I've always been interested or been involved in software with or to do with managing, operating technical assets, buildings, those kind of things. And of course, things been going on. BIM came and was there to stay. And the whole idea of how to capture reality, how to document what I even have, how to document all the different assets I have. It's been always a bit of a topic. Right. Ever since we started trying to have a digital copy of reality has always been an issue. And especially in the last couple of years, this became more and more important with systems, processes getting more complex. It's always been a
quick question. I'm just curious about your definition, because now I know your background. So you've been involved in probably digitalization and the software part for quite a while. But what is your definition of digital twin?
The definition would be, well, I guess everybody is sort of on the same common grounds with that. It's sort of, in the end, it's sort of a digital replica of a real asset, process, system, you name it. Sort of something that's in the end digital that represents something that is already real or maybe real, maybe physical in a little while. That's sort of digital twin. That's the understanding. Of course, when you now look into that in more detail, when what we're doing is while we still think of the twin as the same thing, the approaches tend to differ ever so slightly. And while, of course, when you look at products, they have product twins that explain exactly what a product does. You have machine twins that explain exactly what a machine does, how it works, how it operates. And we sort of looking at it more at a larger scale, at the more global scale, by saying we're creating what we call the infrastructure twin, where we don't want to look at an individual product, individual machine, but more the entire environment that all that is embedded in. So you can have everything, the Google Street View large environment, which FRAMENCE provides, and then you can have your smaller twins embedded into that. And that's sort of how it works, because most companies already have some sort of twins, and they're all little solutions, little silos. So we're trying to bring all that together in a larger platform.
I love it, because this seems like you are creating the whole ecosystem, right? For those digital twins. So it's like a big digital twin brother, and then there is a lot of. I'm just kind of talking this way because maybe not everybody is following the technology the way we are. So I'm always trying to explain it so it's understandable. So it's like an ecosystem of digital twins that is kind of feeding this one, and then you have this like one dashboard that represents all the data. Is that would be fair to say?
That's sort of the thing in the making where the markets, of course, are still very, very new. Our idea always been is to try to be as open as possible. Because in the end, all those digitalization projects tend to fail because everybody's being a little bit secretive. You've got lots and lots of silos, and you keep on building new silos, and eventually that'll all fail. So we've seen that any manufacturer, they'll have for each and every machine they'll have a digital twin. For each product, they have a digital twin, and they all don't communicate. So we said, okay, let's build the environment, have everything around that, and interface, link those existing twins into that. Because when you start trying to hog the data, say, oh, that's all going to my platform, that's going to fail also. Because you've got so many existing systems that are all there for good reason. We want to interface that so you can access the data, but we're not going to hog the data because that's going to fail. So it's more the bringing everything together and bringing it and having it all in one place through which you can access information, but not necessarily have it all stored there.
Okay, beautiful. Do you know any other solutions that are similar to yours? Because that sounds so obvious that somebody needs to do it, right? But on the other hand, is this happening?
Partially. Okay. There is the first ones. There's, for example, NVIDIA going out with the Omniverse stuff, though that's very, very 3D modeling topics, which is very, very expensive and theoretical. So we're using photos just to capture as it is, make it quick, make it easy, make it feasible in reality. But to be perfectly honest, not really. There is some parts where it's very, very specific to a process. The construction knows quite a bit about those twins, but again, very, very much focused on trying to speed up construction. Of course, there's twins for individual machines by the machine manufacturers, but the sort of this broader thing, not really, because they never really been looking into the infrastructure. It's just been there. It's just sort of the building around it and a bunch of pipes and wires. Nobody really was interested in that. And of course, it is a fast-changing environment, which makes it very, very tricky to deal with. Because if I have basically a set environment and I can produce those multiple times, I can invest quite a lot into creating 3D models. But if I have a unique, fast-changing environment, things become very, very different.
Yeah, I understand. So I think for our listeners and viewers to understand, could we present it on some like case study example? No names, no company names, just for people to understand, because I know what you're talking about, but I think the idea would be, to reach like plant managers, or just board of directors, just people that don't necessarily have to understand the technology, but they have business goals that they like to achieve. And I was thinking that, presenting this maybe on some example like a real life example, but explaining it like the benefits of that solution, business benefits. I think that would be something that we should discuss. So the digital twin is not a mystery anymore. What do you think?
No, I'm fully with you on that one. Our customers are doing that for a reason, doing that for various different reasons. Topic case study, it really depends on which industry is looking into that, what state the process they're in, what are the current goals, basic, or the current topics. A nice example is of a chemical company a bit north of us. So a small family-run business, a couple of thousand staff. So sort of nice German Mittelstand, if you wish. And they're building a new site somewhere on the east coast of the US. And just this year alone, in the first quarter of the year, they had 4 or 5 different delegations from their headquarters flying over to the US to see how the construction is going along, where the machine's placed, whether everything is in check. So there was always 3, 4, 5 different people flying over at the time Just think about the travel costs on that.
Mm-hmm.
Not even time, just the pure costs of flight tickets, of hotels and stuff like that. And of course, add the time to that. And that happened also basically tens and thousands of euros invested just in that to regularly check on advancement of that site. So what they did was basically, we're involved with them on the German side. Like, oh, how about we get somebody who's there anyway to just grab a camera, capture everything, walk through that site with a camera, take photos of whatever is going on, and then create a twin from that. And so that allowed them to basically get rid of most of those travels by simply saying, okay, let's just log onto the platform and have a look how they're doing today. Let's have a look how things have changed. That's sort of one of those evolving construction documentation topics, or even things like locating critical assets. With a case with a customer that had a leak in a fire sprinkling system. Nothing major, just a small little leak, just annoying enough. But the problem, of course, as it was a critical infrastructure, they couldn't just happily shut off the line or shut off all lines and wait for until it stops dripping. They had to make sure that they switch off the right line. And the problem, the person who knew where the shutoff off for exactly that line was on holiday. So they ended up looking through documentation for a couple of hours or even days to find out, okay, which is the right shutoff valve. Those kind of things. So we have constantly changing environments, but the problem, of course, is nobody would ever model something like that. It's simply far too expensive model because you never know what to capture. Within a photo, you just happen to have the information. It's just there. And we now tag it and identify it, you're there. So that's sort of two very, very simply, but very powerful examples how that could work or how that works.
Yeah, great. So because it also tells us how you can save money, how you can save time, and just I can imagine sending a delegation of 5, 6, 7, 8 people, because the money that you have to spend for that trip, that's one thing. But the other thing is that when they are there, they're not productive, they're not working. So
exactly.
so it's even more money that you're saving if you think of that.
There is to add to that, there is figures out there. Something when we started off with, we're looking for exactly that. How much could you actually save with that? How much? What's the real business case?
Yeah.
And there is figures out there that the typical engineer will spend somewhere in the region of up to 20-30% of their daily working time, or their weekly working time, looking for information, looking for that kind of information, going through documentation, looking for something in the odd different system. And that's basically a day a week.
Wow. That's
wasted just looking for information. And we can even reduce that by like 10%, 20%. Yeah. That's a huge impact because that just basically adds up. And of course, we're talking about staff. That's nowadays very, very scarce and very, very expensive.
Yeah. Wow. That's... I feel like I did not know digital twin the way you're describing. I feel that you have created your own category, for digital twin technology.
Trying to sort of the infrastructure twin, if you wish.
Yeah, infrastructure twin. That's great. So if we are looking at this digital twin technology, and we know that technology is evolving, it's evolving faster than ever.
Then
what is your prediction? What do you think can or will happen in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years? 10 years, I think we cannot really predict what happened in 10 years, but how about 2, 3, or 5 years? What do you think?
I think it'll really pick up. When we started out in 2019, people were like, oh, why do I need a twin? I'll just jump on a plane and fly there. Now COVID hit and things have changed quite significantly.
Yep.
The whole sort of digitalization topics, people in home office, being at home, that is, of course, has a huge impact where the engineer doesn't want to travel to the site. So instead of the engineer traveling, we have the site travel virtually.
And
what we're seeing with, or even our own staff, the Gen Z coming into the market at the moment, they're really wanting those kind of. And even the older people, or the older staff, want to stay more at home, want to focus more on family. So there is a drive. So what I'm expecting is, of course, lots and lots of or broad adoption of those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, of course, topics AI really coming up, being the current huge hype. Well, we're investing quite heavily in research. There is quite a huge gap between marketing and reality.
Sure, always. That's why we call it marketing.
It is. But there is things happening, especially when it comes to making something out of those photos, recognizing things, making life even easier for staff. When it comes to recognizing name tags you have, which is nowadays even commodity, using OCR to recognize name tags of equipment, but also recognizing object, creating something from that, even helping with robot adoption, where you have sort of robots wandering around sites, which is coming up more and more. They need spatial information as well. So we could feed those spatial information so they know what to do, speed up onboarding. So that sort of comes back to the idea of the sort of infrastructure twin, where all those kind of technologies can come together in one way or another. So that's something I really see where the market is going to develop. Whether it's going to be 2-3 years, personally doubt it. So I see more towards 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. Simply because, especially with the AI, especially with robotics, we are still fairly early days. Yeah. Yes, of course, ChatGPT, it's been huge, but especially in an industrial environment, industrial use case, you do need slightly different models. You need smaller models that can run in your own environment, models you really can trust. Because if you ask a ChatGPT a question, you're not always 100% whether the answer is right or not. In an industrial setting, you tend to want to be sure. Yeah. Or you would want to know where that information came from. Yeah. You say, okay, that shutter valve is the correct one for that sprinkler line. You really want to know, okay, where did the AI get this information from? But, did it basically just say, okay, just pick one? Or is that actually reliable information?
Maybe
so that's what I'm saying, may take some while.
Yeah, maybe it came from Wikipedia. And then you're in trouble.
That's the problem. Yeah. So that's what I'm seeing topic. But of course, things are really developing with a little team focusing on just the AI topic, for example. And it's quite impressive to see what's happening there, what's going on. But again, it's always the how good is good enough.
Yeah, sure. And that kind of leads me to the question that I was thinking at the very beginning of this conversation, because you said there are like smaller digital twins and they feed the data to this big brother digital twin, let's call it this way. But I'm sure a lot of the companies, they have legacy systems, right? So they might collect some data, they might not collect some data. The integration is maybe possible, maybe it's not possible. How do you approach that? Can you still help those companies that are running legacy systems?
Yeah, well, we absolutely love legacy systems.
You're the first one.
No, we really love them. And the reason is, well, I've been in the market for 20 years. The company has been around for 40 years. Those legacy systems are usually there for a very, very good reason. They're usually very, very specific systems for specific use cases where you have engineers, your specialists doing certain use cases with that. I heard a discussion with a startup doing digital twins, and they're close enough to come around and say, "Oh, you don't need your SAP anymore. You now have a digital twin." And I was like, "That's bold." Try explaining that to an organization.
Yeah.
So there is lots and lots of systems out there which are there for a reason, which collect data, which manage data, which run and manage small operations. Systems that may be in place for 30, 40 years even. If you look at all the sort of the factory automation, some of that's been there for absolute ages, but it runs perfectly. And people work with it on a day-to-day basis. The idea is they don't need to be exchanged if there's no real valid reason. So the idea is to create interfaces. When it's a system that's sort of browser enabled, we can use simple web services to access that, just cross-link them so we can access them directly. Also, we can, of course, access their databases if need be, have proper interfaces to those systems, even extract data from interfaces. But the idea is not to say, okay, we now have a twin, let's forget everything else. Mm-hmm. Of course, if things change, that'll change also. But of course, you need, the core is to bring all that information together no matter where it's coming from. Because you're not going to exchange all that. It's never going to happen. Those things take years, especially when you're looking at systems that are deep down in factory. Where the question is not, oh, how pretty is the dashboard? How cool is the system? It's more, I need pretty much close to 100% reliability. And I'm not going to risk everything. I'm not going to risk any hold in production because my Weird and Wonderful dashboard crashed because there are bugs in there. So there's complete different approaches there. So we say, we need to be able, as a software company, we need to be able to manage those. Right. And that's the real task we have at hand. It's not saying, oh, bad legacy systems, we don't like them, bin them all and do something else. No, the real task for us is and the real benefit we can bring is to say, okay, let's integrate whatever you have and let it be our problem to try to access them and try to find a way to get the data from there and make it available.
I love it. I love it because you're not one of those companies, because there are software companies that, when they see legacy system, they're super happy because they say, now we need to build you a new system. And then, you're just a couple of millions euro away from the perfect solution. But I love your approach, the fact that you look at the legacy systems as something that you can still, get benefits out of, and you can still extract the information that you need. So that's really good. I think this is also something that separates your message, the digital twin that you're working with from all the other digital twins that I've seen so far. But no, really, this is really what I think, and I've met a lot of different versions of digital twin and a lot of different ways of selling that service or providing that service, and then your one really stands out from the other ones. But now I want to talk about the fact that introducing digitalization, introducing digital twin, very often causes resistance, very often causes, problems on the other side, of the customer side, because they don't understand. Maybe infrastructure is not ready. Maybe the IT department is not really happy about, you coming in and introducing some new technology. What is the most common problem that you're dealing with when interacting with the company that you want to help?
Initially, it's understanding. Why do I need that? What's the point? Then something we're seeing, something we've always seen, ever since been out there, is we're providing transparency. We're providing basically an absolute transparency about your assets, which can be tricky, which is things that is not often absolutely loved by people. Because basically everything they're hiding will find that. All little dodgy things will find those.
Right.
And that's usually something where people tend to be wary initially. Yes, they see the benefit of you. There's things that I want to hide. This absolute transparency, while loved, of course, by management, they need that. That's absolutely vital for most processes. Can, of course, cause a little bit of reluctance, put it that way. Also topics, especially when it comes to traveling. Just came back from Hamburg yesterday. When you see business travel, it is still a bit of a status symbol with many. I'm nowadays a good God, I don't want to travel, let's do it virtually. But it's still, to a certain extent, it's a status symbol. And when we're saying, okay, you don't have to fly to the US anymore, you don't get to fly business class, you don't get to have your glass of champagne on the flight, you don't get to watch your movies. Yes, we're attacking certain status symbols there. If you talk to the CFO and they're, oh, fantastic, I can cut all my travel budgets. But if you talk to an engineer, especially when it's not to the extent that they're constantly traveling, when they're basically spending their days on planes, they're more than happy if they can spend an evening at home with their family. But if the odd twice a year I do my business travel, and it's fantastic, we're partially attacking that, which of course is creates reluctance. On the other hand, of course, people are understanding that, and it's getting there. Of course, we need to do quite a bit of convincing. We need to talk to them. But on the other, when you bring up all the benefits they have, when you bring up, that's especially where the new generation is really helping us. Okay, I want to spend time at home. I want to be back at home with my family at 5 p.m. Or if something comes up over the weekend, especially look at maintenance crews and stuff like that. oh, it would be fantastic, which could be doing that sitting in my garden. Just have a quick look and see whether that's critical or not. That's where those sort of the benefits really come into play. But initially, it's often something new. Are my status symbols attacked? How does that change my daily working life? How does it impact my 9 to 5? That creates initial reluctance. On the other hand, of course, as we are in the end very much in a tech-oriented area, where you have your engineers, you have your specialists, they are always the first one to jump on this. Oh, awesome new technology! Let's play around with that. While it's more the manager, more like, oh, do I need that? How does it help me? There is different angles, different topics that keep on coming up. But what we found is the easiest way to tackle that is to do some sort of proof of concept, have them try it, have them play around with it and sort of experience it for firsthand, what they could potentially do with the twin. And when they turn around and say, okay, guys, I don't have a business case. May happen. May be there, just not there yet. But others turn around and say, okay, I've got these 5 different business cases that just came out in that little POC. Let's tackle the first 3, have number 4 and 5 for later.
Yeah, great. Another question that I have is in regards of the resistance. Are you familiar with this term change management?
Yep.
Yeah, and then I've seen that evolve over the years, and I've seen more and more companies understands now that the change that we're talking about, it's not always something that all the employees and all the people understand over the night. Anything that you'd like to say here in terms of change management? I would always onboard the employees, kind of involve them in the decision-making process, because then they're not resisting, and they maybe even interested, they understand the benefits. Anything that you talk to decision makers whenever you're proposing your digital twin solution?
I think, as you just mentioned, or as you just talked about, all the sort of reluctance and solves all the problems in adoption of those kind of technologies, change management is an absolute key. Wow. It's an absolute key to get there, to get somewhere. Because as you mentioned, if you don't have the employees, if you don't have the staff on board, these things will fail. And we've seen it so many times when managing board tried to push something through from top, it failed. Yeah. Simply because staff simply wouldn't use it, find ways around how not to use it. The organization has to be with it, they have to stick. What I personally usually suggest is that find some star to push that. Not necessarily somebody from managing board, ideally not somebody from managing board, somebody from the normal staff, from the engineers, from the normal team. Say, okay, that's a fantastic solution. I'll try something. And I'll say, that's my little baby. I'll push that through, and I can see those different benefits, and then have them develop it. Have that person, that star, to all their colleagues, talk to their peers, and get it done through that way, where they onboard their own staff sort of on the same level playing field, not coming top down. And top down doesn't work. Top down will always create friction. The staff will find ways not to use it. We know that. They will find their ways, whatever you do.
Yeah.
So it is trying to find the stars, a couple of stars, even in different departments. Also, a topic was, I mentioned, the POC. Try starting slow. Yeah. Don't push something into the entire environment. Say, okay, let's have a little use case. Let's have a couple of use cases. Let's start with the low-hanging fruits. And when people see things are developing, when people see, okay, we're doing something there, it is working, they'll start jumping onto that. We had that with a customer of ours where we started in a very, very tiny area, large chemical. They focused on their buildings first. Real estate, boring for a large chemical in the end. But it was a very, very narrow area, not too much friction, and they started playing around with the twins. And now that they're getting somewhere, other departments are coming up and saying, oh, you're doing awesome stuff there. We want to do something like that as well. So you suddenly have all those different departments also coming up on their own terms. It wasn't that they said, okay, you need to do that. It's basically other departments having a look sort of across the board saying, what are you guys doing there? And that's how such a technology is then easier adopted. If you try to push that down from top, it's not going to work. You'd want the sort of the stars, you want the advocates down in the field who work with that, who know what it helps them as well. If CEO says, "Oh, we're gonna cut that amount of travel costs, you're gonna be so much more efficient," yeah, that's great. But when you have an engineer saying, "Guys, thanks to the twin, I could spend my evening with my family," whole different approach, whole different understanding, and that's a sort of more an approach we can really relate to, and that's what you really want.
So it's not always about money.
No,
it's not always about money. Is crucial for organization. Maybe not crucial. It used to be super important, but now, from what you're saying, and I strongly believe that's true, in the times where it's more and more difficult to find, the right people for the job, you can offer them all the money, but if you also offer them that ability, to use technology so they can free up their time and they can spend it with family, I think this is next level operations.
It is, because in the end, well, it's a couple of things. It's on the one hand, it's saving the information you have, staff fluctuation increasing, and staff being more and more scarce. So you need to do something to keep them on board, to keep them happy. So trying to adhere to their life planning, adhere to their needs. Of course, you can only take it so far. That's certain. In the end, it is in the end always about money, because you need to have the money to do those kind of things. So that's of course there. But also, it's not always and only about money. It is also sort of the whole package that really comes into play.
Nice. And then I want to get back to this proof of concept. This is the method of for us people dealing with the or providing digital solutions. It's a way for us to show the maybe the ROI on the implementations that we are working on. Is this something that you always use or you try to use whenever you're talking to decision makers? Because, like setting them a solution that, that require a lot of time, a lot of money, probably it's not always a best solution. But I'm not going to say never, because sometimes it's actually good to do it this way. But the proof of concept, I think, again, I'm here trying to kind of explain the things that we're talking about in a way that is understandable, for our audience. So, proof of concept. How would you describe proof of concept, and why it is crucial, to starting up those business relationships and then building bigger solutions?
Well, basically, the proof of concept is in such a sense crucial that we're talking new technology.
Yeah.
We're talking about things that they haven't tried before, but haven't really tested before. They don't really know what's coming their way. And especially talking to the B2B market, when a decision is made, it tends to be made for a longish period of time. It's not like, okay, let's try this, and then if it's not the best, let's try something else next week, and then try the third one, the fourth one. That's not how it works. So if you want to have a decision, it is usually there to stay, at least for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. So it is a means of, on the one hand, showcasing what we can do, making it easier for decision maker to understand what such a solution can do for them. And also, of course, it is easier to explain it within the organization when you're sort of having your own little environment. You can do a demo, so that, okay, that's a twin by whomever, and that's what you can do then. That's possible in terms of technology. You can do this, you can do that. But it's not their twin. When they sort of have a twin of their own site, of their own environment, say, oh yeah, that's my factory, that's my shop floor, that's why we're producing this, that's why we're producing that. Oh, when I look there, during such a POC, people start developing ideas. Because suddenly understand their own environment, they know exactly what's going on, and people can really relate to that. And they could sort of image that being used in their day-to-day life, in their day-to-day operations. So while that's such a POC of their own environment, even just a small part is always very, very helpful, because it allows the decision makers, as well as all the staff, talking about change management, to relate to what we're really doing. Very, very crucial on those POCs, though, is never do them for free.
Okay.
That's something. When we started out with FRAMENCE, so we're happy with all those startup things, and it was, we're doing POCs. We need to do POCs, and then all POCs. I was like, yeah, that's true, but why the hell are you doing them for free? Because what I learned in the last years is whenever something is for free, it's worth nothing.
Wow.
And you would really want some sort of commitment.
Wow.
Some sort of commit from the lead to say, okay, yeah, that's something we want to invest into. We're investing ourselves, of course.
Yes.
We're doing something. We're putting work in. We're talking to the customer. So why should it be for free?
The way to do it maybe is to have this POC that the customer pays for. But then if they decide to move forward, you can deduct that amount from the overall project, right?
Of course, there's possibilities like that. There's options like that. But of course, what we've seen is once they've done the POC, once they've seen it, the price wasn't really the issue.
Yeah,
it was more, oh, fantastic, let's start. We need to grow that thing quick. We've got so many angles there. So that's what we found. Of course, we had the odd POC where people don't really have a time for that at the moment. Where there's so lots and lots of other issues coming up where this whole digitalization topic was sort of a bit further down on the list because they had more critical issues at the moment. Where I said, okay, yes, we've done the POC, you know what we're doing, you understand what we're doing. When you sort of handle your critical issues you have now, give us a call. And it may take a year or two. I had a discussion with one of the first leads I had when we started out, little couple of months back. And like, yep, Adrian, we're all set now. We've dealt with our critical problems. We can now look into that. So it may take a while. It may take quite a while, but eventually they usually then come back.
Okay, so the proof of concept for me, this is a way of starting a business relationship, with the potential customer. And then the next couple of questions are related to selling IT solutions, selling digital transformation, because I strongly believe there is nothing that is more difficult for a salesperson to do than sell a solution for like industrial companies, because it's so complex, it's complicated, and then it usually requires 5 to 10, maybe 15 different stakeholders on the customer side, and they all have to get aligned, and they all have to say, yeah, this is something that we want to do, and this is driving me crazy. How are you dealing with that terribly complicated sales cycle?
Sales process. Keep it simple.
Yeah, simple. Okay.
Keep it simple.
Simple.
I know what you mean. Well, as I said, family business, numerous software companies been in the market for quite a while. The more mature a software solution gets, the more difficult it gets to sell. Wow. Yes, while people understand the need, why they need it, why they should invest in something, you instantly start having lots and lots of competitors with very, very similar systems, where you need lots and lots of know-how, specialist knowledge to sell that, to really bring the message across why your system and not the neighbors.
Yep.
With new technology, it's a little bit easier in the sense that it's more you bring across a philosophy, you bring across an idea. It's more a look what we could do. It's less facts, it's more vision. You need different salespeople for that. It's a whole different story in terms of salespeople. If you have the pure technician, they're not going to sell a vision.
Yeah.
If you've got somebody who could sell a vision, they're not going to sell technology. So that's a delta we have there. But what I meant by saying keep it simple is, yes, you have 10, 15, 20 different stakeholders from all different areas. So that's what trying to focus on a small section. What I said about the chemical. Try with a small area, where you can sort of take out a bunch of those stakeholders, all the critical stakeholders. Okay, let's just start there, play around with that, see what it can do for you, and then spin out from there. Sort of create your own reference project within the company, within the organization. By saying, okay, start small. And then or even use those POCs as the small first initial reference, where you say, okay, small area, start there, and then start for a specific use case. I would never go to a customer and say, okay, let's bring in the digital twin for all your sites, hook all your legacy systems up, and create everything at once.
And
hell no.
And wait for a disaster to happen. Yeah, that would be a disaster.
We could do that in 5 years' time. I'm always showing them. That would be the vision. That's something we could do if at some point along the lines we can do that. But we say, okay, what's the topic? Yes, you're building a new site there. Yes, you're rebuilding something. Yes, you've got problems with this. You've got problem with that. Let's focus on the small project. Let's focus on the small problem and solve that first. Start small. Keep it as simple as possible where you have the low-hanging fruit, quick and easy gains.
Yeah.
And then have it evolve from there.
Yeah, something that you said is, I think it's obvious, but then when I talk to people, it's a secret. Nobody talks about it. Nobody knows, and everybody assumes that in order to be able to sell those solutions, the solutions that we are providing, you have to have this technical background. And then you mentioned something that is super interesting, that you actually understand that the vision part is different from the technical part. Is this the way that you approach? How do you know this? Why there are so many people that are not aware of it, and they always say we're selling technology. We need people that understand technology. And
I think that the main difference is being German. Germans we love technology.
Okay.
And then sort of having all the engineers, having sort of software, love technology even more.
Yeah.
And especially they're all child at heart. They want to play with technology. They just love it. Cool new stuff, cool new things. And what I'm also seeing is that we're far too much focused on, look at this cool feature, look at this cool function, look at what we can do there. And especially when you talk with engineers, they love that. But then you in the end have the decision maker in the room. They don't understand that. They don't need to know that. They don't want to know that. I think my big benefit there is I'm not an engineer. I did management economics, so I can do pretty much nothing.
Or everything.
So that's sort of my background, and I mean, sort of I can sort of more relate to that. I was like, I don't care how you're doing that. I don't care about what button there is. I don't care about that. What's the result? What's the problem? What's the aim? Why do I need that? Why would I want that? And how could it make my life easy? Because the whole idea is sort of, especially in the B2B market, we're never ever generating demand. That's something we have to learn. Sort of, we never ever generate a certain demand for something. If I'm a supermarket and I see a nice chocolate bar, I'll just buy it because it's cool. Or like chocolate, let's buy chocolate. That doesn't happen in reality. That doesn't happen in B2B. You won't have somebody out there saying, oh, that's a cool technology, let's buy it. I don't know what to do with it, let's just buy it. Yes, you may have Elon Musk or somebody just buying that for the hell of it.
He's doing that for sure.
Yeah. Well, for him, that's kind of chocolate bar.
Right. Yeah.
But in a typical organizations, there is certain cycles, there are certain procedures. You just don't buy something for the hell of it. You need to have a proper demand. You need to have a problem. And that's what it all comes down to. You're only selling something to the customer when they actually have a real problem that they're wanting to solve. And you can talk all about weird and wonderful, pretty features, pretty functions, what your software can do, what your technology can do. But if you don't keep the problem in mind, and typically the decision maker, if he's not, or that person is not that much from a technical background, they don't care, and they won't be able to understand that. Yes, the engineers might understand that. They might see it. Oh yeah, we could. Yeah, but the decision maker doesn't. And he or she doesn't understand that. They won't make the right decision for you. So you always have to sort of have the vision and address that problem you're really solving, less I've got funny buttons.
Sure.
So that's a sort of
No, it's a great explanation. I'm super happy that we are talking about this, because it's still a secret for for a lot of people, and I don't know why. If you imagine that there is a stakeholder that is business oriented, he cares about the business problem that he's trying to solve through technology. And if you try to explain technology to him, he'll be like, I don't need this. I just need to calculate ROI. I need to find out how technology can solve my business problem, because the business people are always the ones coming up with the budgets and decisions, right?
Yeah.
So have you met that kind of person in your life that can do both? That they understand technology enough, and then they are, they have the sales skill set, so they can create this vision. Have you ever met a person that can do both?
I met a couple. I would say I have met a couple. Typically, they tend to be older.
Okay.
Reason for that being, actually, I know. Actually, it's getting more. A typical position is a good friend of mine, family friend of ours, started his life as an engineer. Started with Siemens many years back. Then moved on towards automotive, and was then basically in charge of sales.
Yeah.
So you have somebody who is an absolute engineer by heart.
Yeah.
He'll be absolute playchild when it comes to technology. He'll be deep in it. But of course, thanks to company experience, organization experience, 20-25 years in large corporations, he adopted that role, especially the sales topic. So he, for example, is mixing it. He'll do both. He'll combine it. I think anybody can kind of do that. You just have to throw one role into the different pool. So me as a manager economist, suddenly having to find my way around technology. Yes, I've always been happy with technology from an early age. I've been playing around with that. Not to the extent that I said, I would want to do that myself. I love technology. I don't need to know how to code. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But I could imagine technology doing wonderful things. My dad, on the other hand, with his background in civil engineering, engineer by heart, having run companies for 40 years, 45 years now, whole different story, whole different approach. Though I find it easier for somebody coming from the management economic side to shift into the technology than vice versa.
Yeah, because it kind of makes sense. Yeah, I mean, there's technology and there's business, and it's like having a sports car and having an off-road car.
Yep.
Just you can have maybe you can have a sports car that is good, on the off-road, but it's gonna be very rare. It's gonna be super complex, and it's gonna be crazy expensive probably to have it this way, right?
It is in the end. I'm with you. It depends on where you put those people, how you use those people, how you utilize them. If you have somebody, if you want to develop technology, if you want to bring technology forward, my role's pointless. I can have a rough idea. But you want to have full-blown technician, somebody who's knee-deep in all those kind of weird and wonderful things, lock them in a room for the next 2 years and wait what they come back with. And then they're fully happy, and that's all perfect. What you, of course, need to do is you need to cross-check every now and then what they're actually doing, whether it's sort of still in the right direction. So you need the different roles. You need some sort of visionary who understands to a certain extent what the need is, what the technology can do. No need to do that yourself. You have to understand what the technology can do and how you could utilize it to solve business goals. So you need the different roles. Pure marketing, whole different story. But sort of to bring things or to push things forward, you need at least have a rough understanding what's going on. So in the end, selling technology, selling technological solutions. I learned that the very, very hard way, very, very early in my days. Basically, when one of the engineers in the business for like 40 years literally locked me out with one question. I didn't even understand the question. I didn't understand what he was on about. And you just saw them smiling. That's a problem. So you need to have a rough understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will actually fall into those traps, and they will be there. And also, you always have to make sure, okay, that's how far my knowledge reaches. Now, says, guys, I have no idea. I know who knows that. I'll ask them, and I'll come back to you. But that's how far I can go. So if you need a rough understanding, otherwise, the specialist will ask you something, or you have to understand the customer's problem. And that'll be, of course, some sort of technological driven in one way or another. And you need to understand that. Not deep down, but at least roughly understand what the problem is.
Yeah, I feel like I want to talk more about, selling technology and having those two approaches. One of them is technology based, the other one is based on business problems. But I think we have enough for this episode. Maybe one day we'll do another one, because the more I talk to people in charge, the more I understand that they are a combination of kind of business people with the understanding of technology. And what's super interesting to me whenever we talk is the fact that buying technology is maybe even more difficult than selling technology. And what I want to do with this interviews and the Digital Executives Hub is I want to make buying technology, I want to make it easy for the buying committee, because it's super difficult. It's super. How can you buy something that you don't understand? How can you buy something that you're not, able of calculating the ROI on? It's just, how can you buy something that 10 other people has to agree for you to buy it? How can you approach this? And this is one of the reasons that I wanted to have those interviews with people like you. Then you're sharing your experiences, with how to approach buying and selling that. So this is super important to me. And I'm super happy that you're sharing those kind of information, because maybe because of what we do, it's gonna be easier for the buying committee to make the right decision, not the decision based on whoever had a better salesperson, but the decision, on what solution would provide me with the highest ROI, and what should I be thinking of when implementing those IT solutions in my company. And then this is good. So good. I love it, because I am involved in business development, and I talk to potential customers, and I struggle sometimes to explain why this is good. I can kind of explain why this is good, but still 10 other people has to get aligned on the customer side, and it sometimes it's difficult. And now my most favorite question. It could be one or it could be three, depending on how you feel about it. Looking at your journey, creating those companies, running those companies, having probably hundreds of different business conversations, with customers, potential customers, selling a solution that is not obvious. It's not, it's not apples or oranges. It's a technology solution. What are 1, 2, or 3 takeaways, that you have learned or understood, during the time that you've been running a technological company? It's a pretty long question, but I really wonder what you say.
I learned a bunch of hard lessons. I have to say that. I really have to say that. Coming from university, going to real business. At the university, you're always very theoretical. Everything was possible, kind of thing, and then suddenly hard hit by the reality. No, it's not. One thing is you really, really, really have to have a long, we say in German, a very, very long breath. You need to stick in there for a while.
Right.
Decision cycles in the industry, especially B2B, 6 months, easy, 12 months, fairly common, even 18 months and more.
Wow.
And that's something you need to understand, something you need to get used to. Because when I started my first company many, many years back, we're like, oh, fantastic, awesome solution. They'll be queuing outside the door and they'll be waiting for us. Hell, they're not. Oh, they're not. Exactly. You have 10, 15 different decision makers who all need to say, okay, all will need to be in there. And that takes a while. And then suddenly you have a certain budget threshold and you have another whole circle going. And suddenly you have another 5 people who need to say, okay, say yes as well. And these things can even change. What happens? Budget cuts, problems, different aims, different goals, new management, back to square one. That may well happen, and that does happen more than often. That's something you have to learn. That's something you need to get used to.
Understanding that this sales process, this sales cycle, sales process is difficult, is long.
It's difficult. It's long.
Months. Not maybe trying to push it super hard, right? Because the customer might be like, "What are you doing?" Right?
Exactly. That's something you need to understand that. That yes, you may think that's a fantastic solution. They need that now. They must need that now. Yeah, but they have different agendas as well. They've got 50 other things on their agenda also they need to tackle. I think that's one. 2, you need to stay ahead of the customer, making life a little bit harder. Because we're, of course, looking into technology. We're, of course, investing in technology, focusing on technology, which will take another 2-3 years before it's market ready. So things that I've been thinking about 3 or 4 years, topics we've been discussing for 3 or 4 years ago, I've discussed with initial customers. And I go, oh yeah, that sounds good, but well, 3 or 4 years down the line, they're like, oh, that's something I need now. So you really need to learn that you are going to be very, very much ahead of your customer. They're going to look as like, why would I need that? They don't think that far. They will have those problems in 2 years or in 3 years' time. And I think the trick is to try to anticipate those topics that may come up in a little while. Because that's the same with AI. Yes, we're talking huge AI things, but it's going to take another 3 or 4 years until it's really deep down within the industry, used properly, because those kind of technologies will need time to mature properly to be used within industry. And so, again, things do take time, and they will take time, and then things don't happen overnight. It's not like you can just happily launch a TikTok video and everybody loves it. It would be fantastic, but it doesn't work that way, especially on B2B. On the other hand, working B2B is fantastic because what you do, of course, is you build very, very long-lasting relationships. It's very much all about trust. That's why I said we've never been a real startup in that sense, because we couldn't just say, okay, well, let's sell a fantastic solution. If it fails, tough luck. No, we have those existing relationships and we need to foster them. We need to take care of them. Just yesterday, I was talking to a customer or to one of our partners in one of our customers. He's known us for 25 years. They've been with us for 25, 26 years even. So we're talking very, very long-lasting relationships. As I said earlier, such a sales decision isn't made for a year, not for 2 years. It's often made for many, 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 many years. And that's all about trust. So what I learned, you have to be, of course, you need to have your vision. You need to be, show them what could be possible, but you have to be very, very down to earth when it comes to what you can actually do today. Wow. Because if you don't deliver, things get nasty and you don't want that.
Yeah. I wanted to, sum it up, but you said the magic word, trust, So in what we do, I think this is crucial. That's why, just approaching, companies and telling them that I have the best solution possible. I mean, you should do it. Don't even think about it. Just do it. It seems impossible without trust, right? And you said you have a relationship with this partner or the company for 25 years. And I bet it still takes time, right? Even if you have this relationship, they still not
of course
going to be like, yeah, what do you have for me, Adrian? Yeah, let's do it. I don't have to think about it because just thinking of having that discussion with the customer without trust. I think a lot of people don't. Yeah, other people don't understand that. Only people that are like in sales or they are actually doing this on a regular basis. I think this is the only people that can understand how difficult how difficult it is to build trust. And this is my very last question. Do you have any tips on building trust, or this is just time, hard work, and not giving up and providing the best possible solution, or you have some magic trick?
No, I wish, and if I had that, I wouldn't tell you.
Makes sense.
No. I think, well, it is with everything. It just doesn't come for free. It is hard work. It is being there. It is delivering.
Yeah.
Don't promise things you cannot deliver. So yes, if things fail, yes, it happens, can always happen, but don't make that a habit. As I say, okay, try. Don't promise too much. I say, okay, that's what we can do. That's when you're sure, okay, we could try that also. Not sure whether that's going to work. May as well give it a go, but be a little bit wary. So that's what I'm seeing often out there. People telling everything, promising whatever. As a guy is not going to happen. We know that's going to happen. So that's something where it really helps. Sort of don't oversell. That's a huge topic. People trying to oversell, and that of course kills trust because I don't know whether that's going to work or not. And then of course it is long-lasting relationships. That's something I'm doing more and more nowadays. Again, after COVID, meet people, go out, talk to them, meet them firsthand, sit down for a coffee. Yes and no. Yes, most of yesterday's meetings, I have 5 or 6 different talks there. I'd say about 5 of those, there will not be any immediate business from that. There won't be. Of course not. I had a nice coffee with them. It was fantastic. We chatted about the old topics, just as we're doing at the moment. But there won't be any immediate business. Next time I come around, things may have changed. They may have, I've got these 5 different topics. Can we handle them? So with this trust nowadays, yes, decision cycles aren't necessarily that much quicker. But at least you've got sort of a foot in the door. They will approach you like, guys, I've got this topic there. Can you do something for me? And that's when we started with FRAMENCE. We thought, okay, that would be an awesome idea to do that, something like that. So we called up a couple of our customers, like, guys, we've got this awesome idea. We've got this little sort of demo case. We've got this rough idea. Can we run that stuff past you and you tell us what you think? And I'm like, okay, come on. A couple of us, yeah, fantastic. Come around, just show me. And we show them what we're doing. Like, that's awesome. We want that. That's a good way. Go on. And a couple of them are now our customers with FRAMENCE saying, okay, yes, that's something I want to do. Others aren't there yet. But that's sort of, you can then, of course, build on the trust. By having a sparring partner who will tell you, okay, that's a good idea, that's a bad idea. And where I know I can trust their answer. It's not like, awesome idea, just leave me alone. They'll tell me, no, Adrian, that's an absolute crap idea, don't do that. They'll tell me that. Or they say, okay, that's something, but I would look at it in a different way. Or even, okay, that's something, don't know what to do with that, no point. But it all comes down to that. It all comes down to the real trust, the sort of building networks over time, meeting them in person. Of course, digital meetings are fantastic. But sitting down for a coffee, whole different ballgame.
100% agree. I think this is just something that humans should do. Humans should interact with other humans. If you are looking at the screen, 10 hours a day, and this is the way you're interacting with people, it's not good for your health. It's just not good. So talking to people, getting in front of people, just what you said is absolutely, I think, the necessity. So we are not going crazy in the future. And then the other thing that you said about having 5 or 6 meetings, and maybe 3 or 4 of them are not gonna bring you business right away. This is something that I've learned when I was in the United States. Like, I have learned what is networking all about. Like, I'm originally Polish, and in Poland, everybody expects instant gratification. Everybody expects to have that one meeting and closing right away or getting something out of it. But when I was in the US, I have learned that I don't need and I shouldn't be expecting instant gratification. I'm there, to build trust. I'm there to, meet them in person. I'm there to build something that then, can bring in value, I don't know, a month from now, 3 months from now, a year from now. But not expecting instant gratification, I think, is something super important if you are doing B2B sales, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Adrian, that was awesome. That was
Fantastic.
unglaublich, I would say. So it was great. It was great talking to you. It was great talking to someone that understands technology and business, someone that is there talking to decision makers about technology, and just understanding that there's the vision part of sales and there's the technical part of sales. So all of it, I did truly enjoyed it. So thank you for that, and maybe we'll do another episode. Just sales, technology sales oriented. I think your experience is it's unbelievable, and understanding that to sell technology you need both. You need understanding of technology, but you also need to create vision for how that technology needs to be implemented. So it was really good. Thank you. And hopefully to meet you in person and have coffee one day.
Certainly. It was fantastic. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and we'll have to have a coffee together.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.